We work hard so you can get hard. That's a lot.
Woo! I'm sure that was consensual.
It was fucking Carl!
But we're going to move on. We're going to talk about our Mount Rushmores of perimeter defenders. So best perimeter defenders all time, top 4. I'll give my top 4 after you give me yours. I feel like they're going to be pretty much the same. I don't know. How do you want to do this? You want to go back and forth or just tell me?
Yeah, we can go back and forth. I can say a guy. If you share him, you can. We'll figure it out. But okay. I actually didn't pick the top 4 best defenders. I picked the most important defenders, which very well could be a lot of people's most 4. So, but like they could fit on there, and I think there's huge reason. Like if there's a Mount Rush. Anyway, my first guy.
I got super deep with it and took a bath, read a book.
Exactly. Joe Dumars is my first guy I have on Mount Rushmore. He was like antithesis of the bad boy Pistons. 5 all defensive second team, 4 all defensive first team. Sorry, Fred really wants attention. But MJC said he was the toughest defender he ever had to go against, and I think that's enough to put this guy. I mean, 9 all NBA defensive selections. This guy definitely deserves it. He made the bad boys the bad boys, so he fits the first slot in my Rushmore.
Yeah, not a bad pick at all. Definitely someone that I didn't personally think of, but think it's a great pick. My first is probably the most obvious. It's the greatest defender of all time, the glove, Gary Payton. How can you not have him on there? He's amazing. I'm sure you have him on there as well.
Yep, I have him. He was my second guy. He's on there.
So I mean,
Gary Payton the second. No,
Gary Payton the second. No, the mitten. So you got Gary Payton and you got Joe Dumars.
Yep. And one of my things about Gary Payton is, led this Supersonics. He kind of gave them a name when they first started off. Him and Sean Kemp, they were a huge part of that. He nicknamed the glove, led the league in steals twice. He was the last guard to be before this year. Last guard in 1996 to be Defensive Player of the Year. So that all impressive stuff from him. He really deserves it. But
he's an all-time great player. He'll always be remembered.
Yeah. So the next guy, this is really the role where I was like, it's not top 4 perimeter defenders of all time, but like important. Where I have Sidney Moncrief. I do think there are some that are better at defense than him, but he was the first Defensive Player of the Year. 2-time Defensive Player of the Year at that, and kind of started off with the Bucks in the 80s. I think he kind of created perimeter defense, the modern perimeter defense, and I think he deserves a spot on this Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, why not? It's Mount Rushmore. It's politics. It's all about who you could convince to get there, and they convinced you.
Exactly. Yeah. I was like, listen, man, you don't even have a profile picture on NBA.com. This is just a blank graphic over here.
That means he's legit. He's real old.
Yeah, that means he's real old. But 80s, first Defensive Player of the Year was a guard. It's kind of insane to look at how the way things are now.
Yeah, I mean, over time, guys have just gotten so big. It's like size is important in the sport, and if you're really strong, really big, like hard to get around those dudes.
I guess they didn't have cornbread back in the day. Kind of hard.
Yep,
but
that's true.
Who do you have? Who's your third? Who's your second?
My second is Michael Cooper.
Okay.
So Michael Cooper was a great defender for a lot of the seasons. Magic Johnson was there when they won championships. So maybe an unsung hero in our eyes, looking at in retrospect. But when he did play, he was a 5-time NBA champion. He won the Defensive Player of the Year, and he was 5-time All-Defensive First Team, 3-time Second Team. And hell, he even won the J. Walter Kennedy Citizenship Award. So the guy, I would let my daughter date my daughter if they were the same age in some alternate universe. Instead, he's about 60 years older than me. So that's not how this one works, unfortunately.
Yeah, he almost made my list. He's the forgotten guy of the Showtime Lakers. Nobody cares about Michael Cooper, but he did a lot for the team. He was a huge part of him. So good for him.
Yeah.
I don't disagree, but he probably would have been on there if I didn't want to go off from importance, and that's why Sydney's on mine.
Yes, yeah, you don't think Michael Cooper is important. I get it.
I mean, also I looked at the team he was on. I was like, listen, man, I don't know how they might have been able to win without you. I'm not gonna James Worthy, but I'm like, but whatever. Yeah. Who do you got next?
Next, I have the man that has to be on there because, without basketball and without this discussion, like there, people just wouldn't be willing to have it. They'd be like, that's not fair. That's not basketball if he's not there. Michael Jordan, anyways, six-time NBA champion, obviously, a six-time NBA Finals MVP. And just in terms of the defense, he was Defensive Player of the Year in '88. He was a 9-time All-Defensive First Teamer. And he was the steals leader for 3 times as well. So always active hands on the perimeter when we're talking about someone who can break up what an offense has going. That's what he could do. And then he would go and stuff it on the other end. So he was really the wrecking ball on both ends.
Yeah, I thought he was gonna be the guy that you disagreed with me, but he was my 4th guy on the Mount Rushmore. I mean, I was so impressed by like all the accolades you said, but also being the first scoring option on that Bulls team. Like how insane! This guy's lungs have to be collapsed. His stamina is insane. So like that's just an impressive feat, and everything you said obviously is great meaning.
No doubt. I mean, I've argued like LeBron is the GOAT before, but in reality, he's not. Like I mostly joke because like Jordan's did it on both ends forever. And to just be that sort of wrecking force and be able to take the breath out of a team so easily like that and lead your team to, overcome whatever deficit possible. Like, I don't know how you can't think of him as anything else but the GOAT.
Yeah, and he's better. His career steals are per game are better than Gary Payton's. Also, he averaged 14 more points for career numbers than Gary Payton, which is still that's the insane part.
Crazy.
His career stats are 30 points per game. Gary Payton's are 16.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see the year by year for Gary Payton. I wonder like how fast he tailed off in terms of scoring, or if he always was just around that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you got one more on yours, right?
No, that was it. Because I had Sidney, Gary Payton, Joe Dumars, and Michael Jordan. So that was my 4.
Okay.
It's my Rushmore.
I got one more, right?
Yeah, go ahead.
I said Gary Payton, Michael Jordan, Michael Cooper. My last one is Kobe Bryant.
Okay,
also a great finals winner. He didn't have the 6 championships, but he did have 5, and he was a great defender for those. And also in a 9-time All-NBA first team defensive player, a 3-time second teamer. He never did win Defensive Player of the Year, but as we got into our modern NBA, there were so many great big men during his time. So it just didn't work out for him. But in terms of guarding the perimeter, it didn't get much better than him. And, he was just so fierce. Like he could fucking make you fumble the ball just staring into your soul.
Yeah. I'm. It's not unknown that I wasn't a huge fan of Kobe anyway because of his how good he thought he was offensively and some of the worst efficiency numbers. Most shots taken in the NBA of all time. most shots missed in the NBA of all time.
Kobe.
Not even kidding. Yeah. Where I do think he's an all-time great because of his defense. That's really what I admired most about Kobe is where the Mamba mentality bled into his defensive ability, and I thought it was just crazy. He was certainly a lockdown defender. Shout out to his teammate too, though, Ron Artest. He didn't almost make my list, but he was a very underrated defender that people forget about. He's
top 10 perimeter defenders all time, right?
I'm sure on most lists he should be. Really sets the defensive culture. Kind of created that Ron Artest did. Because look at the Pistons. That was kind of him, Wait, Pistons or Pacers? Malice at the Palace. I mean, that's kind of set the culture for what he does for a team, and he brought that to the Lakers, and he's helped Kobe Bryant win championships. So they're both right next to them. So shout out both of them.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, defense wins championships. We've seen it. You need to get your essential guys who are great defenders as role players if your stars aren't going to do it. So that's kind of what, some teams like the Hawks and the Mavericks, they're looking for. They're looking for some solid defenders outside of their stars, because their stars likely aren't ever going to be that. So that's kind of some problems some teams have in the modern NBA. But obviously, if you can get a guy like your Michael Jordans, that do both, like, awesome. You better put whatever else you could do around them, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah. But let us know what your guys' Mount Rushmore. Who did we leave out? Like, were there any that are crazy? Were you guys surprised that not a single active player was on our Mount Rushmore? Comment below, let us know. But like and subscribe. We like talking basketball. You guys like hearing about basketball. It's simple as that. That's it.